Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That is correct.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful
downtown Van Nuys. Oh, man. There's someone hiding in the studio over there. Who is that?
That's a surprise for you later. Yeah.
Yes, you will find out later.
Now, Ed, before we jump in, I see you have some
good Patreon news.
Yes.
If you want to contribute to the show, go to patreon.com/funniest thing. I want to thank the new Patreoners out there. Terry Benoit, Christine Valentine, I'm not sure if the E got left off. Hope Hansbarger also jumped in to support the show. We really thank you. We are really on the upswing and everything's going well.
Yes.
It really is inspiring, and we're so glad you're part of the funniest thing.
Yes, it's helping us meet all our expenses.
I know, it's incredible. Such a great feeling. It's also... You're investing in CHOBO Studios and Jeff Comfort, and so we appreciate it. So we got a message actually on Patreon from Terry Benoit. Thank you, Darrell and Ed, for your uplifting, loving, and fun approach to sharing unity principles. Terry Hoover is my Facebook name. I'm a.k.a. Terry Benoit, a longtime fan of your show. Thank you, Terry. From Christine Valentine. There's no E at the end. Valentine, I'm not sure how she reads it, but thank you guys for all the laughter, silliness, and reassurance you have provided to your listeners. As a social worker, psychotherapist, I was at first a skeptic, but your words and more importantly, your vulnerability in sharing your personal stories has given me guidance and permission on how to do the same. Thank you for all you do. Keep up the great work, and I wish you both well in your personal and professional endeavors.
Wow.
So you can hop on. Thank you, Christine. You can hop on Patreon at patreon.com/funniest thing. We sincerely appreciate the contributions, and we look forward to many more years with you. So, what's the name of today's show? What do we got here?
Speaking of meeting our needs.
Yes.
Did you know we're all trust fund kids, Edward?
That's right. That's the name of today's show. We're all trust fund kids with Steven Tom Thorpe. God is the source, and the channels are infinite. And we'll explain more what that means if you've never heard that before. God is the source, and the channels are infinite. By putting our trust in God to supply all that we need to live fully, we move through our day full of positive expectation. God is love, and when we're all in with love, God provides for our every need in amazing ways. On this episode, Darrell and Ed encourage listeners to expect a blessing everywhere they go. And during the second segment, shining star Steven Tom Thorpe encourages us to let go and trust completely with today's daily word, let go, let God. What are you jotting down there, sir?
Well, you're going to love this.
I know I will.
When you just read that one line from the today's show description.
The one-liner.
When you wrote, God is love, and when we're all in with love, God provides for our every need in amazing ways.
Yes.
That reinforces the fact that when I'm all in with love, there's no need to push and shove.
So you want to breathe on that?
I don't know. What do you think? It
Sure,
really
let's
is.
do our three breaths to kick it off. We've done something with shove, and it's always a good time because it's always a good reminder.
It's a good reminder that does not work.
All right, let's take a breath to clear our mind here. When I'm all in with love, there's no need to push and shove.
I'm getting comfortable. We're sitting in new spots, ladies and gentlemen. I realize, though, this is my better side. So
okay, let's start over. Come on. We're breathing here.
I'm
over here in this chair. This is a beautiful chair. Look at the way I'm sitting over here.
I know, but I got sandbagged.
No, I know. All right, let's start over.
There's a sandbag here by my feet, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't do this.
Sorry. All right.
Okay.
Just read our shirts. Darrell and Ed love you. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube yet, go to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on YouTube so you can watch the episode. And you're going to love the way you look. All right, let's take a deep breath to clear our mind. When I'm all in with love, there's no need to push and shove.
When I'm all in with love, there's no need to push and shove.
When I'm all in with love, there's no need to push and shove. Man, we had another breath lined up, which you might want to use. This is a great affirmation.
Oh, yes, we do. You want to just do one of those?
This is actually how I've been feeling lately, because I've been waking up and my head's been not trusting God, not trusting life, kind of really racked with a lot of just self-doubt and judgment. And it's so funny when I'm used to thinking judgmental, horrible thoughts about myself and the world. It actually seems rational to continue to do so until I sit down and do my morning routine where I read some inspirational material. We read some inspirational material. We meditate, which is not scary. You don't need to read a book, The 20 Hierarchical Steps of How to Get into Deep Meditation. Don't need that. Just sit down, put a timer on, 3 minutes, whatever you want. Just breathe and look around. Like, just don't, you're not trapped. Just look around the room if you want. Close your eyes. Feel the seat you're in. Darrell would say, drink your coffee. If you're a cigarette smoker, heck, bring one of those with you.
Look out the window. Sometimes just taking a deep breath in your car.
The key is whoever you are, bring that to the morning routine. This isn't something where, oh, you're going to get rid of that old self that was you. No, you're going to become more and more inspired by who you are, which is what I was saying. When I'm done with that morning routine, that's when, and Darrell, you could probably agree, I start to sing. I feel so I get shot out of the cannon. I feel the relief you've been talking about lately. I feel a deeper sense of satisfaction.
And you start to become, I believe you refer to yourself as a maniac.
That's right. You might even sing, how do we want to do it? Just sing along?
Yeah.
I'm a maniac on the floor. And I'm trusting like I never have before.
Yeah. Trusting.
Because that's really what a relief, like you just said. What did you say? When I'm all in with love, and all in with love is not. It's not just something you say. It's something you feel inside of you, and when you really feel it, you just fall in. You're all in. Everything just relaxes. It is an amazing feeling.
Should I read that love one then, since we're talking about that?
Yeah, please do.
Because we had a different lineup, folks. We even had different 3 breaths. The maniac was going to be the breaths. But this just goes to show you got to let God have free play in your life. You cannot be rigid even when you're working on a show.
That's right. That is
right. The
right.
best things, and you'll even see or hear when you watch interviews of celebrities or authors or even musicians. We saw one recently with Ringo Starr, that the best things come from when you let go and are flexible in the situation. And those things that weren't planned or controlled in any way turn out to be the most memorable or most admired portion.
Right.
Or most quoted line in the movie.
Well, it goes with what we have her book here, Kathy Jean Norman, what she said. I'm not going to read it, but we read it last week in our episode, which is called, it's with John Strickland. What was that last week's episode called? Whatever the case was, but she said, use your mind as an instrument. Recognize that your mind is an instrument for the divine. The decision's already been made. Our mind is an instrument through which the divine flows. It's not a tool that we have to rack and, stress over to try to get it to make the decision, or come up with the ideas. No. I just want to tell everyone, because I really recommend the episode with John Strickland, which is called Living on a Prayer with John Strickland. So you can go back and listen to that. Yes. But that idea, when we're stressed, we think our mind is this tool. When I'm stressed, I think, I got to figure this out. La, la, la. But this is really about recognizing the mind as an instrument through which the ideas will flow.
Yeah, I have to disengage from my analytical mind.
Right.
And that is really It's contrary to what reason. I better figure this out, but I really can't figure anything out.
Right.
When that analytical part of my mind is engaged, because now it's thinking of ways to overcome nightmares that I'm creating.
Yes.
So it just keeps reinforcing the nightmare, and I just keep feeling worse and more overwhelmed. I have to really break away from that.
Yeah, when you say that, figure it out, it makes me think of that movie A Beautiful Mind, where the guy's writing all this stuff and pinning it to the walls, because figure it out to me, I think it means draw figures. Yeah. I better figure this out. And so you're going to draw it all out there. And then but the whole time life is happening. Why not just tap into what's really happening, which is love, which is what you're about to read about.
Yes, and here, this goes right with it. I didn't even realize the last line in the quote.
Yeah.
So this is a book we recommend. It's on our reading list at darrellanded.com.
Yes.
It's a good morning reader.
Mm-hmm.
It's called A Year of Miracles. It's by Marianne Williamson, Ed's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. Ooh la la.
And this is from day 217. Because in this one, the days they're numbered, which is kind of a little bit of a challenge. So it really means it's August 5th. Right. So I went and numbered all the pages.
It's never a good thing when your days are numbered.
So rather than numbering, I actually did I put the date so I could easily find them.
The good news is that when you read this, you will no longer feel like your days are numbered.
No. So here we go. From day 217 in A Year of Miracles. Love can be trusted. Without love, I'm insane. Love makes all things right. Love is my sanity. The thinking of the world would lead me to believe that the ways of love are often ways of weakness, while the ways of fear are often ways of strength.
Right.
Never has a more insane perspective taken hold of the human mind.
Yes.
I shall not be lured into the thinking of darkness, but rather I will cleave to love today. And, what's great about getting these books and reading them each morning is sometimes things will hit you right in the moment. Maybe the reading, one word, one sentence, all of a sudden 100%. Will crack the code and knock you out of your insanity, knock you out of the spell. That's why we learned the biblical meaning of the word wicked in the Bible. It just meant you were under the spell of the race consciousness.
Yeah, it's like these readings in the line tunes the instrument, which is your mind, to the reality. And once it gets in tune, you never know what it's going to be that's going to get you in tune.
So after this, I jotted down something to myself, which helped reinforce this idea of trust. And this sentence is always true. And this just came to me from reading this. And then, like we said, it's not of my mind. It's not, ooh, Darrell's brilliant. Because that just makes me feel twisted and small. It's actually, I'm tuned into these higher ideas that are floating around, the God consciousness that is actually there to always uplift. It's like a radio station. When we start tuning in to this higher frequency by the positive words we're reading in the morning and then the thoughts we start thinking, it's like tuning into our favorite disco station.
I agree.
These other thoughts come. They came through my head, but whenever they come to me, I don't think to myself like I would many years ago, oh yeah, I can't wait to share this with my friends because they're going to think I'm smart. It actually is like coming from a higher part of me that makes me feel so good and gives me something to utilize moving forward in my day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I could say why part of that is because what you're recognizing, what I recognize in those moments too, is that life is brilliant.
Yes.
Life is a brilliant, shining light within me. So I'm not thinking, and you're not thinking, ooh, look at me. It's like you want to tell people because that same light is shining from within them too, that they're brilliant also. It's the type of brilliance that reminds us that everyone is brilliant.
So what I wrote to myself, what came to me in this, what do they call it? A flash of what? Genius.
Yes.
Which actually means a flash of our genuine self.
Yes.
Genius origin of genius means the genuine self.
That's right. Who we truly are.
Yes, so I wrote to myself, and this I wrote to myself last year, 2021, but I read it again today, and it was fresh again. By constantly choosing love and hope, I will always be surrendering to success.
Yes.
And this morning I was beating myself up because of a lot of things, but mainly lately because I have all these things going on in my body that are just a bummer. You know, and then I woke up again with pain in my upper shoulder, and I got some other things that...
Right.
And, and my mind will tell me all sorts of stuff. Oh, this is chronic or this and that. And it was horrible.
Right.
But by reading this, choosing love, by choosing love, I am surrendering. By choosing love and hope, meaning trusting hope, having trust that God... that the future is brighter, that healing is happening. Have that hope, and then in love, and just keep my mind, my thoughts loving towards myself, not attacking myself with thoughts of, oh, the hits just keep coming. What next?
Yeah, those are
attacking myself.
And those are the thoughts that lead to the actual sicknesses. Like,
yes,
there's a little thing that happens, and then the stories we pile upon it that stop our healthy energy from flowing are what make things linger longer.
Yes.
They make things aggravated. They make us shut down, stop living. Because we've been pointing this out recently quite a bit because it's been coming up for us. If we're not accepting our good and accepting that we are amazing and that life is amazing, our consciousness, that means it's pushing against it.
Yes.
There's no neutral. We're either letting it in or we're pushing it out away. And that's why so many people who are miserable are also so... kind of like on the other one side, they're like, oh, pity me. On the other side, all of a sudden this arrogance comes out. I'm right. Because it's the full force of our consciousness starts to push against our good. It's one or the other. We're either receiving and sharing or we're rejecting it.
Yes. And whenever I'm thinking anything other than health is occurring, I'm actually rejecting the idea of health.
Right, because the principle is that health is always occurring.
Yes, so
it's just
I'm
whether or not we're letting it in.
Well, and that's where it says if love is my sanity, because all those other thoughts are unloving.
Yes.
And they're insane.
Yes.
And that's why by constantly choosing love and hope, I will always be surrendering to success. Because the success is guaranteed when when I'm not in there trying to figure it out. Because what happens is, I noticed this and I had to stop it this morning. One thing happens, I go, okay, so I could treat this with this. And this other thing happens, I got a doctor's appointment on this day, so I'll tell them this and they'll know, and then this, and then I'm going to see this other doctor, and maybe it'll be, I got to stop all of that.
Yeah.
All of that scheming in mind. And I told myself, today is a new day. Today I am born new.
Yes.
And I can have hope and love and just move with love.
Yes.
And everything else will fall into place. It'll create a vacuum of healing and prosperity
100%.
that I don't have to freaking figure out.
No.
You can keep saying, I am forgiven. I forgive myself.
Oh my God. We have so much that goes with this. That's right. There's so much that goes with this. Actually, I was going to read the second segment, but there's a book, from 1935 from Frances Wilshire, where she says, allow your spirit to flow through both your mind and your body in complete abandonment. By saying in rhythm, I am God's perfect child. I am free. I am free. I am God's perfect child. I am free. I am free. Literally feel. You are being freed from everything that you do not want. And freed for all the things you do want. Drop the undesirable as the balloon drops its ballast.
Yes.
Then, like the balloon, with a feeling of exhilaration, you can sail right up and out into your freedom, into the life more abundant.
You know what? I got to say one thing, Ed, quickly.
Go
because,
ahead.
in 12-step programs, they talk about doing an inventory.
Wait, is this the dance class you were talking about where they do the 12-step?
No, this is a different one.
Oh,
this is the 12-step recovery programs.
All right. I just want to make sure.
Well, because
I think my grandmother used to dance the 12-step with my grandfather.
That's called the hokey pokey.
Yes, but they both turn yourself around.
Yeah. Well, these 12 steps are supposed to turn these people around.
Put your resentments in and take your resentments out.
No, leave the resentments in and take your happiness out.
Yes.
So what I was going to say, like, the point of doing the inventory isn't to go, look what a cool scoundrel I was.
Right.
The point of the inventory is to find those defective parts of my character. My character is my behavior and my thinking.
Right.
That have actually been working against me.
Right.
The things that, like I had to do this morning.
Right.
I can't go around because of certain ailments. It doesn't serve me, and it definitely will not help heal me at all.
Right.
And it won't make me feel better to be in self-pity about it.
Yeah.
To be resentful about it.
Yeah.
To punish myself about it. Oh, my thinking caused this. No. I gotta see, because that's the ballast, like in that writing. And the point of this inventory is so we can, the person in recovery from any sort of addiction can let go of those attack thoughts that they've been punishing themselves with, so they don't feel the need to have to anesthetize themselves. Because the drinking and the drugging is just a temporary way of anesthetizing those horrible nightmares. So that it gives the illusion of, I feel good. And all you're really doing is, you're a scoundrel.
Right.
You're a terrible, you're never going to get well. Like, the drinking just makes those defective ways of thinking drunk. And you feel a false sense of relief. But what we're talking about is that by trusting in God and believing in good, we get a real sense of transformation. And those voices start to diminish and not actually win us over as easily as they used to.
Yeah, totally. Man, there's so, and everyone can relate to this, because people, you don't have to be using drugs or alcohol to be doing the same thing, to be trying to shut out. Now, there's one thing, once you start to become aware, it's kind of nice to take your attention off of those things for a while.
Yes.
But when you're running from them, they're just growing, and we're like a parent. We need to face those things and realize we're the CEO of the company. We need to set some new guidelines, some new ground rules, right? It's so funny because on the other page of what I was going to read from Foster McClellan.
This is turning into an amazing, we're trusting God and the whole readings are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. This stuff permeates everything if you let it, for the better.
Yeah, so maybe I'll read both of these things.
Yeah, read them.
Last week we talked about Foster McClellan with John Strickland, and I know you loved it. Fazaro was a little worried it went long, that you guys don't enjoy that, but we know you did. And so go back and listen to it. It was great. But he knew Foster McClellan, the author of this book, and he knows his daughter. And now we're happy to admit that we're going to record on September 3rd with Carla McClellan.
Yes.
Foster McClellan's daughter. Just a week ago, or a few more days than a week, I'm asking myself, who is Foster McClellan? And 4 days later, his daughter is calling me and telling me she has amazing stories about this book.
Oh, great.
It's so crazy how the mind works. As soon as I just said to myself, I really want to know who this guy is. You can't get a better insight than from John Strickland and his daughter. But this writing says, to live in a cave. Let us absolutely refuse to live in caves of sickness, lack, unhappiness, or fear.
Yes.
Let's absolutely refuse to have any more empty, void, or fruitless days. There's something within us that can solve, dissolve, or resolve the nightmares of the mind. It says man was not even created just to solve problems.
Oh, thank God.
Man was created as an instrument to make great things happen in this world. Something truly wonderful, a new way of life emerges when we understand this. If we feel we have been living in a cave, it's high time we emerge into the light of a great new day. Let's resolve right now to let our true self emerge, to set our inner man free, to let power speak through us. And the one I was going to read goes right with it. It says, only half alive.
Yes.
This is why, and this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. You can't be, it's one or the other. There's no half measures. If we worship the fear, if we let that run us, it will take over.
Yes.
So we need to decide which one we're going to get on board with.
Yes.
And it's a worthy endeavor. When we worry too much, when we become self-centered and concerned with only our problems, we're only half alive, and no one wants only to be half alive. We would miss the wonder of playing a full role in this miraculous world. There are so many wonderful things to learn, to see, to do, that we should go about with a feeling of inner ecstasy. This doesn't mean that we should ignore the bleak days, but that we should see them along with the wonders of life. God meant this life to be a fabulous wonder, and he meant for us to put our trust in him. My friend, let us resign our destiny to a higher power.
Yes.
Let go our hold, our feelings of responsibility, and we will find we gain a perfect inward relief. God never fails. Let's exercise our faith in God and really live life to the fullest.
Well, that's what we mean by we're all trust fund kids, because when we take my trust off of my job or my home or the girl I'm dating or the person I'm married to,
Right.
and we put my trust into this higher power,
Yeah.
our higher power, we all have this higher power within.
Right.
Well, then all these other things are just channels to bless us with the demonstration of trusting in this higher power, of trusting that all will be well, of trusting that all things work together for good. If this doesn't happen, well, I wonder what wonderful thing God has in store for me now.
Yeah.
If I don't get that job, I wonder I'm going to get something even better than this, and this is what I thought was best for me.
Right.
And hindsight is always 20/20, and we go, holy cow.
Right.
Holy cow. And that's when we usually say, funniest thing, you're not going to believe it.
Right. And then that goes to why the show is called We're All Trust Fund Kids. There's a lot in this area of kids that grew up with trust funds, and that's why we were just joking about it, because it's easy to like judge people and the way they spend their money or blah, blah, blah. And I was telling Darrell, I think we need to relax on making fun of these, because we also desire prosperity. And the truth is, we're trust fund kids too, because we're trusting in our Father, a God that is providing. We're trusting that God is going to provide for all of us, and it does require trust. And we're going to go to our break. But the last thing I want to say, right in line with what you're saying, I'm finding the most challenging thing to stop trusting, to give in to God, to give into life, is that little voice inside that really believes it's right and rational and morally sound to judge myself, to say, no, we're going to put off our good till later. It's the right thing to do.
Ugh.
Because what I realized how insane that is when I was doing my morning routine is that
suffer first, then you're rewarded.
And it's
if
a
you don't
horrible-
work hard
that's
for
right.
it, it's not worth it.
And
all that's death. It's all
Right.
lies.
The divine child within us just wilts when we do that.
Yes.
And that's what because I've had some big breakthrough moments on this show where I realized it's time for me to move on to newer, greater things. And I've seen so much movement. And then my other job for the district is getting ready to start. So part of my mind's going, all right, Ed, it was nice that you said all that, but we'll put that aside because another year of teaching. And I'm thinking, no, I want to take this attitude into, if I'm going to indeed start this other, there's no reason for me to stop being full of wonder and joy and blessing the limitless possibilities that are within me. Especially if I'm going to go, I can, and I had to change my mind to, I give thanks for this job and all the good that has come from it, and just stop that voice that sits on this little stool inside me in the past, and it's like thinks it's so right, but it's pure fear. It's pure garbage. It's time to really recognize that I'm a trust fund kid, and the fund comes from within. I will be funded by the divine, and there's no need to ever stop thinking wonderful, joyous thoughts. And by doing that, that will actually heal all of these seemingly serious things, because the reason they're there is because I was taking life too serious in the first place. Life is not meant to be serious. We can be sincere and joyous and loving, but there's the difference between being sincere and joyous and loving and being serious. Serious is, what is serious?
Serious is fear pretending to be a grown-up.
Yeah, so enough of that garbage. All right, coming up next, today's guest, shining star, Steven Tom Thorpe, encourages us to let go and trust completely with today's daily word, let go and let God. And we got a big surprise for you today. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. All right, everybody, welcome back to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. We're all trust fund kids is the name of today's show with Steven Tom Thorpe. Indy, can they see Steven right now?
Yes, they can.
Oh,
Look at him.
snap.
Wow.
Our first ever in-studio guest. How are you doing, Steven Tom Thorpe?
I'm doing great.
Great. We're going to hear more from you as the show goes on. Darrell?
Yeah, it's reminding me of that show Love Connection where they show the guy off camera in the booth.
That's right. My mother and I love that show. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Okay.
All right. You have a very mad, like you're like in the Coast Guard, someone who'd be like underneath the engineer type guy who like, mechanic.
Oh, the fireman.
You got
They're called the firemen.
Glasses up top, glasses down below.
Yes, that's why they call me. Yeah.
Guess that's why they call it. Okay, go ahead.
You ready?
Yeah.
The good news.
Good news.
Okay, this is from a morning reader called A New Day.
All right.
365 meditations for personal and spiritual growth. It's also on our reading list. And this is from August 6th, which is the day we're recording this show.
Mm-hmm.
So this was just in today. It goes perfect with our
Wow, the way
show.
this stuff comes together.
All right, here we go. Sometimes it seems that a committee of doomsayers has taken over my mind, filling it with negative thoughts that have no basis in reality. The longer I allow the committee to remain in session, the louder and more threatening it becomes, and the more tense and anxious I become.
Right.
Thankfully, I have a choice in the matter these days. I've already switched stations insofar as my lifestyle and attitudes are concerned, so it's become much easier to tune out fearful and undesirable thoughts.
Right.
More importantly, I'm learning to quiet my mind. I do so not only for the immediate relief it brings, but in preparation for a longer-term benefit. When I quiet my mind, I become ready for God's guidance to be revealed to me. Through my trust in Him, I achieve calmness even during times of great stress. Even when those all around me are agitated, I achieve calmness, which is constructive of good in my life. I achieve calmness, and in the process, become once again grateful for God's power and grace. Strive for a quiet mind. And that really is it. When we could slow down and not buy into the nightmares we're telling ourselves.
Yes.
And be able to switch stations. The calmness, we talked about this on an episode where we referred to what was it called? Wall of anxiety?
Yep.
Was that what it was called?
Filter.
The filter. The anxiety filter. Then we can lower that.
Yes.
Then we're back into the stream of good and things. Right. And that's when we become grateful for God's grace, which just means trusting that all things are working on my behalf. I don't need to force or scheme or worry about how things are coming together.
That's right.
Let me just keep applying love within my thoughts and my behavior throughout my everyday circumstances. And then our good, the desires of our heart always seem to come in from left field.
Right.
On a door we didn't even knock on.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to Steven Tom Thorpe just about blood pressure the other day, and I was thinking, because lately it's been coming up with various people, and I was, my intuitive sense is that, for my own self too, is that we have these ideas going in our brains. They're triggering all of this fight or flight mechanisms. Like certain systems in our body are like running. They're trying to run from what is inside our brain. That is forcing our blood to try to pump through our body, but our heart is not feeling that fear. So it's not really, we're not using the energy. So the blood vessels and everything are not open and flowing because we're not literally running or doing anything with the energy. So I think that's what creates this excess blood pressure when we're stressed. And that's why when we let go of stress, it's so good for our blood pressures, because there's so many different systems going on in our body, and if they're not all aligned, and the only time they're truly aligned is when we're in the flow with love. That we're talking about God. We're also just talking about life. We're talking about the Tao, the way, what's really going on. That's why fear and doubt and worry will always lead to burnout and a moment of recognition and go, whoa, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? But it's because we get under the illusion of this adrenalized like fear, doubt, and worry that's coming because our system, different systems, not all of them, are reacting to these fear-based thoughts, and they're trying to react. Our body's trying to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? So like when we do these types of practices, that's why health starts to flow, because we actually align our whole system with reality, and we've discovered that reality is love and loving.
I've actually been dismissing the good news that my blood pressure's down to the goal without medication. They gave me one medication. It made me too tired. So I said, I can't take these. Gave me another medication. I couldn't sleep. I can't take these.
Right.
And through the course of this time, even the doctor was amazed. So wait a minute. So you stopped taking the medication because now it's down to its normal?
Yeah.
But I've been dismissing it instead of like,
of course,
jumping up and down at the miracle.
Well, we've talked about this because so much of your mind's been getting sucked into
the
little things. That's like me. It's fearing these little things, and it's anytime. The other day I was walking. I'd surfed for a few hours. Actually, Kathy Jean Norman blessed the session that morning because we're setting up our schedule to go do a workshop and talk up there, and she needed information.
Yes.
I left her a message. I mentioned I was surfing. She blessed that session. It turned into the most amazing session of just me and this one guy out there and these perfect waves in LA for 2.5 hours in this crazy secluded wild, like this, the whole thing was just, I couldn't have planned it. I really just turned it all over to God, and it was nothing short of amazing. God, I don't even know why I just brought this up. It had something to do with what you just said.
Blood pressure?
No, you were talking about how you've been writing off.
Oh, because if I was new to this, I'd be like, oh my God, prayer works. I can't believe my blood pressure's down to one, what it is, which is crazy.
Yes.
How did this happen? All I was doing was just choosing to not buy into the fear about it.
Yes.
And made a conscious choice to keep letting myself know, it's going to go back to normal, or it's going to drop to the normal amount, because they gave me goal numbers.
Yeah.
So I kept seeing those
Plus,
goal numbers.
Plus, I knew 100%. My God box, it's amazing to know you and see your mind, and you see my mind. It's like everything you're thinking about, it's like a tiny little thing that I would have already erased, but it's for some reason your mind is holding on, so you get to go on that ride. Why I said that is because I came back from that session. I surfed like 3.5 hours, and so I was tired and hungry. So then all of a sudden it seemed rational to start thinking these like worrisome thoughts about things. But instead I pushed play on a YouTube video of affirmations, this guy Bob Baker, that I was doing with my adults, that special need program I ran. Somehow I had the wisdom to just press play on that. I was walking down the street to Shake Shack in Santa Monica, and I just was saying, I am successful. And it was literally like taking a glass of water when you're thirsty. Those thoughts brought me back into, I saw a world that I would not have seen if I hadn't shifted over to those affirmative thoughts. It was incredible. I wanted to mention this book. We got it from Chris Chenoweth. It's at positivechristianity.org if you want to get it too. It's called Day by Day. It's a 52-week spiritual growth system. And wouldn't you know, the reading for this week, I'm just going to read a part of it. It's called Let Go. We have to be willing to give up our investment in needing to have control, needing to judge, and needing to be right. We have to be willing to know that God's love is the most important spiritual aspect to express and receive. We need to be willing to let go of all the lesser things in our lives in order to have all the better things, or to have a realization that truly God is our source, which is what the show is all about.
Yes.
The next recommendation is Sermon on the Molehill by Kathy Jean Norman, who was a guest recently. And she said, many of us panic in the dark, but all we need to understand is that we're in this holy darkness through which God invites us to go beyond where we are, beyond our fear, our anger, our resentment, and our judgment. It's an opportunity for transformation, which really just means be renewed by the transformation of your mind. That's where the transformation happens, which will allow us to dispel the darkness and walk back into the light. When you pray, deny that there is power in evil simply by aligning your loyalty with God, which is good. It's all good. That's it. God is love and goodness. It says prayer works, and she says your prayers make a huge difference. And I was thinking, you might even, at some point, we're just going to stop calling it prayer, because it's just shifting our mind. I don't care who you are. you would be wise to shift your mind into thoughts that are true about who you really are and about what's going on, so that your immune system can work, so that your nervous system can be in alignment with what's really going on, and you can bring out your best. Your prayers make a huge difference. When you pray, you access a potential spiritual vibration that can be released in no other way. So whenever a report of war, conflict, like you're watching the news, death, or any other unhappy situation, large or small, personal or global, comes to your attention, meet it silently by taking an inner stand. Go to a higher level of consciousness, which is what I did while I was walking to Shake Shack. All of a sudden, I was like, Santa Monica's beautiful. I'm amazing. Why am I thinking this stuff? Go to a higher level of consciousness from which healing can take place. Prayer works. Pray. And affirmative prayer is the best. It just means choosing a whole new set of thoughts that are positive and feel good, and they feel good because they're true. It's crazy, right? Thinking thoughts that are true feel good. All right.
What about our guest?
Let's think. Steven, did you want to say anything about this? Since we never had a guest in the studio. Anything bubbling up in your mind right now? I've mentioned you. No pressure, but...
Oh, man, I'm just blown away how this stuff really does work. I remember when I first met you and Darrell.
Yes.
And I was listening to Funniest Thing.
Yes.
And I was living in Hollywood.
Right.
And I would drive on my way to work, and I'd put you guys on. And at first, like, I was totally not living this way of life that I'm living now, like doing the morning routine, the affirmative prayer. I was totally in the opposite, totally in the race mind, totally scheming, push and shove. That's where I was. So when I met Darrell and I asked him for help, and I saw the way he was living and the way he carried himself. I'm like, this guy, I want to learn what he does.
Right.
And so, he started helping me. He gave me the morning routine. He said, you'd love this podcast. And at first, I had to force myself every morning. I had to follow, like you said, there was an inner wisdom in me that said, just press play. When a part of me said, no, I want to listen to my hip hop. I want to listen to my rock and roll to get ready for work. And so I just said, you know what, Steven, you need to do this. And I did it. And I would drive to work. I would drive through Hollywood. I would listen to you guys, and I would automatically imagine you two in a setting like this.
Wow.
And at the same time, I moved out here to be an actor, so I imagine being in front of a camera, like when Darrell was saying, start using the power of visualization. Right. You don't got to start pushing and shoving. Start feeling what it would be like to be in front of the camera, doing what you love, acting. Not just the idea of being famous, which is empty, which doesn't stand on anything firm.
Right.
And so now here we are in CHOBO Studios in front of cameras.
And you know what's crazy?
You guys are in the booth.
And you're the first in-studio guest. And remember, we were going to have someone else, and you were like half joking, half sincere, like, oh, man, I thought I was going to be the first in-studio guest. That guy dropped out. Today's guest dropped out. And now... you said it sincerely, and here you are, our first in-studio guest. It's just amazing how the things we say, like when I said I wanted to know who Foster McClellan is, when we don't have weight on it and we don't even know, we just throw it out there. It's amazing how things come together.
Yes.
Let me say this real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, check out Darrell's new book, Break Out of Your Box. It's on Amazon. It's awesome. And actually, I got a message I wanted to read from Lois Conklin, who watched our YouTube Living on a Prayer with John Strickland. She said, loving this program, getting the rerun on YouTube as I haven't figured out where you are live. Well, good news. We are not live anywhere. Except when we're recording this, we are alive. But so you're in the right place, Lois. You could also ask someone if you don't know how to use podcast apps on your phone, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you look at podcasts, you can get us to listen to it. It's just an audio version of the same thing. So you're in the right place. But this is why I read this right now. She said, it doesn't really matter. I have a question. Did you record Darrell's book review yesterday? Blessings on you all, Lois C. So I interviewed Darrell at Village Well in Culver City, and it is up on our YouTube channel, Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. Another reason to subscribe to the channel. You can check it out there.
Yes.
So I just wanted to let everyone know.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so if you want to send anything to us, Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312. By the way, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for going to patreon.com, Funniest Thing. This is just Funniest Thing? Yeah. Patreon.com/Funniest Thing. Contributing to the show. If you want to mail us something, Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We got great mail from Kathy Lepoff today.
Yes.
New Jersey, eh?
Yes.
Hi, Darrell and Ed. I've been meaning to write forever, all caps. I recently went back to the beginning and have started listening to your podcast since your first in 2013. I listen in the morning, evening, and while driving my car. You guys are incredibly helpful to me, as I am considered an essential worker and work in an environment which is challenging on an almost daily basis. It is difficult to be good and think positive blessing thoughts to miserable people, but listening to your podcast helps to put things in perspective. Yes, I encounter many beautiful and spiritually healthy individuals, but there are more miserable individuals since the pandemic began, and I find them to be challenging. Keep up the great work, my friends, and I love you. Sincerely, Kathy, a tough, no-nonsense chick from New Jersey.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
You're not alone. We feel, I feel the same way, but we just keep turning to the light and just remembering, like we were talking about the other day, because when my mind shifts to, the things that I hear or say, even from my own neighbors,
Yeah.
I could easily start going, oh,
That's right.
Either what's the use or I got to move.
Right.
This place is miserable.
Right.
So then, but the thing is, like Ed said, but when my mind switches to that healthier place, if I just go, wait a minute, this is all in my head.
Right.
I mean, yes, it's coming from this person right now, but when my head is in a really good space, people can say anything, and I'm like, it bounces right off. It does. But when I'm in the susceptible mind,
That's right.
that's why listening, then it affects me a lot. But that's why having friends and having spiritual books and things we can listen to that bring my mind back to that healthy state, which we know is true,
Right.
because it feels so good and attracts so many blessings.
Right.
That it really is perception, and the perception can change in a minute. But it's not always easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but that's why we have friends to remind us when we call them and go, guess what I just heard.
Right.
And then a good friend will say, well, I know, but we just got to bless it. Or like Ed was doing recently when he was getting upset about the neighborhood or whatever he was in.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just going to say, I love living in Missouri. Like,
right.
this is affirm that it's a place that you already love.
Yes.
And then miraculously, the environment you're in will take on that healthy,
Right.
positive atmosphere.
That's right. That's right. Man, all of that stuff is great.
It really is all prayer. Every thought's a prayer.
There's so many things based on what you're saying. One is we have to learn to disconnect the idea that suffering is virtuous,
Yes.
or that suffering with someone else is virtuous.
Oh, it's the worst.
We actually have if anything, our spiritual responsibility is to not believe the stories, negative stories people are telling us about themselves and the world, because what happens if we let them in, we will start seeing them in that light.
Yes.
And then that's the blind leading the blind, because no one is remembering who that person really is. We become sympathetic in vibration. We start vibrating with them instead of empathy, which is when we're connected with our own love and joy, and we go, oh man, I know what it feels like to believe that, and that feels terrible, but that's not the truth.
Yeah.
That's what I heard once. Empathy is the ability to feel with someone all the way to the point where you realize that it's not happening to you.
Yes.
Sympathy is when you start to get so caught up, and I've noticed it lately. If I believe anyone's nonsense, within a couple days, it will start projecting itself, and I'll start seeing that in my life, in their life. It's amazing. Anyone you think of in a limiting way right now, try just throwing that away and redefining them how you want to see them, how you know them in the highest light. It changes everything.
Because we're actually joining in with casting them as a victim.
Yeah, and then we stand
powerless.
And if we believe they are, it's because somewhere deep inside there's a part of us that's going, great, now I get to be a victim and throw away all this garbage about succeeding and la la la. Like, I don't know why, but I think because all of us have been growing up in the same similar world, we have similar inclinations, like preconditioned ideas. So we're letting go of those. Jeff Spikes from Arizona said, the recent episode with John Strickland was exactly what I needed to hear this morning. Love the encouragement this show delivers. And we got a great email from Chris Chenoweth, who we just read from. And then we're going to talk to Steven Tom Thorpe. Thankfully, we have a little extra time now that we're flying high in CHOBO studios. So hang tight, Steven. We appreciate your patience. So he said, yes. So Chris Chenoweth This is so funny because we found Chenoweth through what?
Alan Cohen, Deep Breath of Life. I never really loved this story.
Yeah.
But I became like, I eventually said, I got to find out if this guy he mentions.
Yeah, he mentions this minister who basically sounds like the only thing he talks about is his new big screen TV, his new hot tub,
his new motorcycle.
Yeah. So the whole reading is about that. It's an inspiring message about not thinking that you need to be in lack, that there's anything virtuous about lack, that it's that living in this way is actually a virtuous and a prosperous way to live.
Yeah,
but
living prosperously is actually the way God intended us to be, is the message, rather than thinking there's some virtue in suffering.
Right.
However, it comes across a little odd, like a little off-putting.
Yeah.
But you get the message. Like, I've learned to look for the good part and throw away the rest. But eventually this year I decided, let me see if this guy, Chris Chenoweth, is even, like, where is he? Who is he?
Yeah.
So we look him up, and you've heard on the past few episodes, we've been mentioning him fondly.
Right.
Because all the stuff he puts out is incredible. And we just got an email from him after we let him know how we discovered him.
Yeah. So I let him know that we talked to John Strickland, because it just turns out he's a friend of someone we've known for a very long time, John Strickland.
Close friend.
Close friends. Not only that, he's close friends with Kathy Jean Norman, who is our new friend from Unity of Santa Barbara. So it's just crazy. What are we pointing to?
Sorry, I was trying to be as quiet as possible.
That's all right.
If you could just move.
Oh, yeah. No worries. Thank you. So he turns out Chris Chenoweth is good friends with people that we know, and so we thanked him for coming on, for all the inspiration and such, like you said, how we got to know him. And he sent us this email about the reading that we found him in. He said, "I've laughed so many times about you finding out about me through the Alan Cohen book. I thank God that you're the only one that's ever commented on it. I dislike the way that came out in the book. We spent the day together, and he was the one that was enamored with all my stuff. I kept telling
Wasn't there a billiard table too?
Yes, there was a
That's what was off-putting. How could you get that excited about a billiard table?
And the fact that Alan Cohen called it a billiard table.
It's a pool table in any other language.
Not if it's opulent. All right. I kept telling him that the real riches, listen to this, he was the one that was enamored with all my stuff. I kept telling him that the real riches in life are to do what you love doing and are privileged enough to do so. That material things are just in the moment to satisfy the soul. God bless you both, Chris." So that was funny. We love when we unravel these mysteries. By the way, if you're wondering why we're sitting opposite today, during that same surf session that went amazing, I came off of an amazing wave, and normally I've surfed. It's like riding a bike. I've surfed since I was 13. I'm 48 now, so it's there. I pop out over the wave. All the excitement's done, and I normally just fall on my belly and start paddling. Somehow my right hand misses the rail, the side of the surfboard, and the surfboard just bumps up into my lip. And it was, thank God, there was no wave. It wasn't anything exciting. It was just this little thing, but it was enough that where the way it hit my tooth, my right lip opened up. And but the miracle was there was a lifeguard there who's an EMT, and he goes, "Oh, dude, the salt water's good for it. No stitches required." So I ended up surfing for 2.5 more hours. So that was amazing. We're just going to forget about that for now. But I just wanted to say that's why we're flipping it today. Who knows? Maybe we'll like it so much we'll stick it with it this way. But we'll see.
I mean, the way we're seated.
Yeah, the way we're seated.
Only people on YouTube are seeing.
Oh, that's right. If you watch us on YouTube, we flip sides today. Check out the website, darrellanded.com. Find our Funniest Thing fan page on Facebook. Everything's there. We actually just got into putting reels up. REEL, stepping into the big time.
On Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram. And I've been putting them on our Facebook also.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we want to thank Indy, our engineer out here at CHOBO Studios. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, loving it.
You enjoying the show today?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
it's my favorite day of the week.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
Hell yeah.
Love to hear that. We want to thank the chief engineer out in Kansas. His name is Jeff Comfort. He's been with us from the beginning and each week.
He takes us
right into the comfort zone. Yeah. Shout out quickly to Message of Hope. They provide daily word to people who can really need it. Outreach at Unity Online PodShuttle.org is how you find Message of Hope. Shout out to the prayer line. That's Silent Unity. Big part of remembering that we're all trust fund kids. Call them if you're having trouble with any of this stuff and listen to them pray affirmatively with you. They don't ask for, if you want to get an email or a letter in the mail, prayer support, they will send it to you. Otherwise, they don't ask for anything else. They've been around since the 1890s, and it's a big part of unity. So the prayer line, 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. They have a app, the letter U, the word pray, that you can use. They're called Silent Unity. Because it's really about going, we've talked about this again and again, slipping into the silence, recognizing our unity, first with ourselves, with God, with everyone around us. It's amazing. So call Silent Unity at 800-669-7729. Well, we already welcomed him in. His name is Steven Tom Thorpe, and he actually wasn't even going to be our guest today. But another guest, John Franzese, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He was going to come on, but something came up, which is so apt to happen with that young fella out there in Chicago. But
It's actually Indianapolis, Ed. I live in Indianapolis, and something came up. I could not be here today.
Steven Tom Thorpe is an actor, and he does a perfect John Franzese impersonation. So we got the best of both worlds.
Please call me Matt now. My name is Matt.
Oh, I thought you told us to go with John this episode.
Well, that's why I couldn't be on it.
Oh, wow. I forget sometimes, guys.
So, what do you want to do? You got more thoughts to share, or you want to read the Daily Word?
How about I just share it and I'll read after?
Okay, good.
Okay. Do you have the Daily Word?
I have a photo.
I'll hand you the hard copy, but let's hear what you got to share, man. What do you think?
Yeah, because I was thinking about it. That job that I was driving to, that I was telling you guys I was listening to through Hollywood, when I bumped into Darrell, I hated my job.
Right.
And we were talking, the topic is trust fund. What is it again?
We're all trust fund kids.
We're all trust fund kids. So basically, I was living like a trust fund kid because I moved out here and my parents were paying for everything.
Right.
And I willingly accepted that, and I basically kind of took it and ran. But I definitely did not appreciate their generosity. I took advantage of it.
Right.
I was living far 3,000 miles away from home.
Right.
And I felt like a big shot. I was like, "Ooh, this is my chance. I'm out here to
Right.
be an actor. I'm meeting all these celebrities. I'm on my way to the big top."
Right.
And my father said, get a job while you're out there, and I did, and it was just for walking around money, and it was at this law office.
Right.
And I was working there, and I hated it. I felt like the people there were out to get me. I was the big shot actor coming in.
Right.
And I felt like people were out to get me. I felt like they were trying to make my life harder.
Right.
And then I bumped into Darrell, and I started telling him what was going on in my life. First of all, he said, wait a minute, you're 28 years old, and your parents are paying for everything?
Right.
How can you live with yourself?
That sounds like Pizarro. That's a good sobering up statement that when it hits you, right? When
It
you're
hit
ready
me
to hear
hard.
it. Yeah.
It hit me hard. And my
Yes.
parents were still working, and they're in their 60s. And he said, do you want your parents to work until their dying day because they feel like they have to support you?
Right.
And I said, no. And so, we got practical, and he said, okay, you got a job? Okay, what are you doing at this job? And I told him, and I laid it on him. I was honest with him. I said, well, I work a few hours a day, they give me crap, and they're making my life harder. And
Right.
he goes, okay, well, what do you do at the job? And I this is like where divine wisdom came through me, because for some reason when I was talking with Darrell, I didn't have the wall put up to where it's like, I'll just tell, I do a great job.
Right.
I felt so comfortable with him, and I was honest. I was like, well, actually, I'm on my phone all day. When they ask me to do work, I tell them, I'll get to it when I can.
Right.
And actually, I treat them like crap. And he
Right.
goes, well, there you go. That's why you feel like people are out to get you.
And weren't
Right.
you dressed in you would show up trying to look cool by not washing your hair because you thought that cool kids a messy hair?
That's what they do out here in L.A.
And then you were,
The
you
cool
were wearing
kids.
shorts with a tank
Gym
top.
shorts and workout tank top, coming in like I didn't care.
Wow.
Because I thought that was the way to do it. That's how
Right.
cool people do it. The well-to-do do it. And
Right.
I thought I was emulating that, but really I was just a
Right.
jerk.
Right.
And so thankfully, Darrell had this great piece of advice. And this all has to do with the power of love. And I'm really starting to see it listening to it today as you guys were talking about it, the power of love.
Right.
He said, okay, first leave your phone in the car so you're not on it, texting and looking at Instagram or whatever the heck you're doing during the day when you should be working. Leave that in the car. Second of all, treat your boss. How would you work for your boss if he was Steven Spielberg?
Right.
You wanted to move out here to be an actor. How would you work for this company, for your boss, for the co-workers who are Steven Spielberg's right-hand men, of course?
Right.
How would you treat those people? How would you work at the law office?
Right.
I said, okay, I'm going to do that. I started doing that. So then I just put this together. I did it, and my life is transformed. But now I'm like realizing what it was because I started to love my job.
Yeah.
I started to really love my job.
Right.
And Steven, can you do this right away? You got it, no problem. Steven, please do this. Oh, sure, yeah. I was picking up bum trash, and I was happy to do it. Like the one job that nobody wanted to do, that the old me would have said, I'm above that. Like, what do you think I am? I said, no problem.
Right.
So, long story short, I started to get more hours. I started to get more money. I started to get more responsibility because of that. Mm-hmm. And then I started to be able to pay more of my bills on my own to relieve the pressure from my parents. And all this came from within and from encouragement from Fazaro and from you, Ed.
Right.
Talking about this stuff. And like, oh, wow, so it seems like this would be the next step. Now you're paying your own credit cards.
Right.
Now you're going to be able to pay the rent soon. And I was able to do that. And it's like little by little, this is where like the magic part of it comes is throughout the course of a year, I went from my parents paying for everything to now I'm fully self-supporting.
Right.
And it's like that. How does that happen within a year? Somebody who's 28 years old, who has been coddled his whole life,
right,
who has never had to step out in faith boldly to assert himself and to take hold of his life and his destiny.
Yeah.
And I attribute it all to the morning routine.
Yes.
To getting on that wavelength.
Yeah.
To that transformative power that I've been linking up with and reading these books and it's incredible how much it's changed my life.
And what about the best part?
Oh yes, just last year my parents were able to retire.
Right.
So it's like now they're relaxing.
Because they owned their own business, so it wasn't like they were in a company where they're guaranteed a pension.
Oh man.
So if you hadn't started paying your own way, they would have still felt obligated.
Right.
Because, well, he can't really do this on his own.
To
and we
continue.
want him to be a success. That they would have never been able to sell their businesses and enjoy the rest of their lives that they worked so hard for to give you a good life. And it's pretty remarkable that they were able to do that. Because when I first met you, it didn't sound like they were even thinking of that.
No.
They kept complaining about how, I remember, because they were overwhelmed by how things were going, and you would tell me that they were just like sticking their nose to the grindstone. Well, this is the way it is, Steve. I got to go in, owning, remember. And it sounded like it was never going to end. And you were even bringing up the idea of them possibly retiring, but in the beginning, I guess they still didn't trust you were going to be able to do what you accomplished through just trusting in God.
Right. Well, it's not only that. Now they have a living example in their family of faith.
Yes.
Like you became like silent unity for them because every time you talk, because this is what I like is that when you told him and you called him out for living off of his family, you're not just leaving him out to dry. You're saying that's so much smaller than what you could be doing. Here's
and what they could be doing.
Well, yeah, I know. Pause that for a second because you didn't even know about that then. But what I'm saying is when you called him out for living small, you didn't just, because a lot of people do that. Your mom is blah, blah, blah. But the loving part of it, and the same thing that they did for you and you've done for me and we do for each other, is the loving part is you're saying that's so much smaller than what. Doesn't anyone ever told you that you're capable by living this way? Do the morning routine. Remember that you are a trust fund kid, but you are a trust fund kid of God, not of.
Yeah.
And then because it wasn't just you that was responsible for your parents' mentality of thinking that way. They had already been thinking that on their own. Yeah. So for the very person that they thought they were doing it for to wake up
Yeah.
and become sane in their mind and then loving, and then reflect that back to them and be a reminder to them that that kind of thinking is crap. It's just so awesome how
It's
it all works
incredible.
together. And you started out trying to be above that law office with your short blah blah blah, your attitude. What happened to the actual? What are your hours like now? Because it used to be quite hectic in that office, all the dynamics and everything. But you didn't run away. You blessed it. You showed up and did your job. And now what's going on?
Now it's incredible. I don't even know how to explain it. Basically, it was hectic, and I would constantly be blessing it and try like bless the hell out of it, because there's a lot of big personalities.
Right.
It was 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day, and that
Normal 9 to 5 kind of
during
stuff.
driving in and out of work during rush hour, like everybody else.
Right.
everybody else 9 to 5, stuck at the office.
Yeah.
Right.
And through a series of events, my boss just happened to ask me, Steven, could you work at night for a few days? And I did.
Like night, like midnight or 10 p.m.
Like,
when no one's there. Right?
Yeah.
no one's
After
there.
hours, like 7 p.m. to
Yes.
like 1 or 2 in the morning. And so then I did that. It turned out I got more work done in that time because nobody was asking me to do their jobs. They still give me their jobs, but I'm not stuck talking with them.
Right,
They
right.
leave me little notes and I get it done.
Right.
So now I'm getting double the work done in half the time.
Yeah.
And you're in, well, I know for myself, and Darrell can attest to this, when I'm at school and there's no one there, the mental atmosphere is so much more
Healthier.
conducive to getting things done that you get that heavenly feeling, right? You're just you, and you're trusted by your divine Father to get this stuff done, and you go about it and get it done. It's amazing.
Yeah, and so now basically I work half the hours and get paid the same.
And you have your days free for auditions and acting work. It's incredible how this stuff works, folks.
Yeah.
And it really is just love and hope. Like we started the show off. When I choose and trust and love and hope, I'm surrendering to success. I really am.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it too, how this all happened. Like when I would be working during the day, and these big personalities would, say things, or I would get upset by some comments, or
Right.
and then I would start to ruminate in my brain, go negative, go away from the loving leader.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I would call Darrell, or I would talk to Ed, and you guys would remind me. Send love at them.
Right.
Pray for them.
Right.
Remind you, and I would tell myself, "What am I doing at this law office? I'm just, I'm not going to be an actor. I should just move back home and be taken care of by mom."
Right.
One thing that I just thought of today, that a phrase that Darrell, I remember, always shared with me, and he said, "Just say it. Remind yourself this. Feel this. God is on the road ahead.
Yeah.
God is on the road ahead. The road ahead is friendly.
Yeah.
God is behind everything. Let his hand work behind the unseen plane for you."
Yes.
And so then I would help ease my mind to where I was thinking,
Yeah.
screw these people. They don't know what's going on. Or, oh, I suck. No, just that allowed my brain to go to peace.
Yeah.
And for me to let go and let God and just focus on my work. And then look what happens.
Right. Well, there's a great Emmett Fox about God being on the road ahead. Learn to see the unknown as friendly as your friend.
It's called Never Look Back.
And
Never turn back.
It's a conscious tool, because when we shift our mind, when it doesn't, this is just like I was saying about the blood pressure. Whatever we believe, that's what our mind is going off of. That's the program it's running. So for some reason, when it thinks the road ahead is scary, it starts to look back and just dwell in the past. But when we just go, no, turn around, turn the camera around, look ahead. It's like Abraham Hicks talks about this. We're driving down the freeway, and too often we're looking through the rear view mirror, but we never stop moving forward. So why not start looking forward and blessing it? And before you know it, all that stuff in the past is gone. It's so much less relevant than we think it is. No one else is really holding us to that except ourselves. So that is the true salvation of all this stuff, is how powerful our minds are and when they see the truth. And when we feed the truth to ourselves every morning. Oh, dude, we got to get rolling, man.
Speaking of the truth, one more thing before I
Yeah.
read that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like my relationship and being reliant on, like you said, marriage, who this girl or this man or whatever, family, money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Being reliant on that instead of God, the one source, the one power.
Right.
Before, my relationship with my parents was so twisted and sick on my half because I always felt like I had to be a weasel with them to get them to keep giving me money.
Right.
Like I got to be loving. I better show
Right.
them that I'm doing this and that and then the
I know
other.
that feeling.
So that did not allow any kind of true love to go through.
Yes.
And so now my relationship with my parents is so
Positive.
rewarding
Yeah.
and sincere.
That's
And
amazing.
it feels so good.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm going through similar things with my in-laws right now, and it's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that, man. That's such a good point. When we're doing all this fake stuff out of insecurity and obligation, there's no room for real love to flow. And that's what this show is all about. When our real self and our real love starts to flow, everything and anything is possible for us. Not only is it possible, it happens very quickly in amazing ways. There's ways we could never predict. Yeah, here you go.
Well,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Once I realize I don't need anything or anyone
That's right.
in that other way,
Yeah,
well, then I have the best relationships.
that's right.
I don't have to be, because when I need something or think I need this, could be a job, could be anything. Well, then the whole thing gets twisted.
Yep.
You know, I'm just grateful, like when jobs would go, okay, it's time to end, or I would get the inkling to say that's enough.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate that way because I never really had to rely on one thing as a source, which was terrible in the beginning and made me full of self-pity and envious of others, you know. But it actually turned out to be a great benefit because, you know, like it's no house we've ever owned. I felt like, oh, you know, I've been able to let go of anything that's come up, and car. I'm not like, ooh, you know, or even jobs, you know, it's time to move, or okay, this job is over, or thinking I better stay in the military because what else am I going to do when I abandon this, you know?
Right.
And just having friends that would remind me, God's on the road ahead. Whenever you step out boldly, Darrell,
Yes.
you know, things always work out for you in better than expected ways.
Right.
And once I grab a hold of that belief, which I have many times in these situations, it creates a vacuum that actually pulls the greater good toward me,
Yes.
draws it towards us.
Right. Yep.
That's what I want.
Yeah, well, it's happening.
It is. I just thought about this too. I perform live improv in Burbank, California.
Right.
Tonight, when I was growing up, always listening to watching Jay Leno, and he'd always say, "Here we are in beautiful Burbank, California."
And now you're doing
I'm
it.
doing it. Like, this is nuts.
It's incredible.
It is.
Wow.
All right, should I read this?
This is
Yeah.
great.
All right, let go, let God. I bless myself when I let go and let God. If I find myself ruminating over a concern or a weighty decision, I release its grip on my attention by letting go and letting God. When I let go, I am placing my trust in divine mind, the source of infinite potential. I believe there are solutions and remedies of which my limited human mind simply cannot conceive.
Yes.
When I let God, I am trusting the grace of God When I let God, I am trusting the grace of God will bless my life in the most wondrous and even surprising ways. Letting go and letting God is how I live my faith. I surrender to spiritual truth, the presence and power of God, and believe the best outcome is going to be so much better than anything I can imagine. I affirm, I let go and let God, and relax into knowing I am deeply loved and abundantly blessed. Do not, this is the Bible quote at the bottom, do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. That's from John chapter 14, verse 1.
Wow. Wow. Big part of this is what I'm hearing. So we really got to bless our current situation along with looking forward to what's the mistake is to start when I start to look ahead and then I start cursing
Yeah.
the
You can't
situation
curse.
that's below me, because then that just tangles me up and makes it take longer, even though, because we're not better than that situation. It's
No.
just, is it right for us? Is it the place where we can express ourselves? Because this is really about being in a place where we can express ourselves the most, and by doing so, we bless and pass that on to others in a way that lets them know that they are blessed and can be free. It's just this beautiful, just like your story with your family. Things got better for you, When they got better for you, they get better for everyone. When we live this way, that's what everyone wants with regards to our world, whether it's the corporations, capital, whatever they're worried about. What people really want is a way. They're trying to find a way that it works for everyone. And the beauty of it is the way is already there. There's principles to live by. That's why we do the show. That's why we practice this stuff every day. He's got his. Oh yeah, you want to use the script? Here we go.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, we got his.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Steven Tom Thorpe, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
TMZ sent us in something, Ed.
That's right. We got a great story related to you. You didn't share this little tidbit about your story, but we're going to share it now. Darrell and Ed, that's us. We were eating in Beverly Hills when we came across Steven Tom Thorpe smiling and eating pizza. We asked him, "What's going on, Steven?"
I just had an audition for a role as a tough guy in Stallone's new action movie. I got to meet Sylvester and do a scene with him, and he even gave me a nickname.
Wow! So did you get the role?
No. I was so nervous that I shut down completely. That's why Stallone called me Jean-Claude Van Clam.
Jean-Claude Van Clam.
I think Indy, that really tickled Indy's funny bone.
God, it tickled
That's
somebody's.
the best joke yet. That's the best joke yet.
Well, Michael Cimbello came into the studio to sing us out.
Yes.
You guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
We are maniacs, maniacs on the floor. And we're trusting like we've never trusted before. We are maniacs, maniacs on the floor. And we're dancing like we've never danced before.
Yeah.
Oh, visit Darrell and Ed to find easy links to everything we do. And thanks again for
Steven
being
Tom Thorpe, CHOBO
Oh,
Studios.
sorry, that's DarrellandEd.com. To find easy links to everything we do. And thanks, as always, for being a part of
Like,
Funniest
comment,
Thing.
and subscribe on YouTube, because we're maniacs, maniacs on the floor. And we're dancing like we've never danced before. Woo-hoo-hoo!